Good morning, I'm Adam Sexton. Primary election day narrowed the field. The November ballot is set. And finally, Democrats and Republicans get to refocus on doing what they do best in politics, fighting each other instead of fighting themselves. No two men are happier to reach the unity phase of this election cycle than those who are here with us today. The party chairs, Chris Hager on the Republican side, Ray Buckley on the Democratic side. Gentlemen, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us. We love being here.
Yeah, right?
Actually, we'd be here
great.
weekly if you...
Sure. Well, there's only so often you get to unify both together and now with your parties. Now that you got those primaries dealt with it. Let's start with the big picture. Some of your big takeaways from that election night on Tuesday, and we'll start with you, Chairman Buckley.
The turnout, once again, the Democratic turnout was far larger than what the Secretary of State predicted. He was off by 43% in the presidential primary, and I think it looks like he's off by about 30%. Right on the button for the Republicans, but we have the energy going on across that state, and people want to vote. They're ready to vote for Kamala Harris and Joyce Craig and our entire ticket.
Chairman Hager, how about you? What's your big takeaway from Tuesday?
So the decisive win by Kelly Ayotte and the numbers. We had about 15,000 more Republicans vote than Democrats in the state, so that's a good sign. And Kelly Ayotte won by a significant margin, 28,000 votes. And so that gives us a lot of encouragement that she'll do well in the general election and draw those independent or undecided voters. So that's really the target right now.
Let's talk about that race for governor. And we're seeing these ads go up on TV already, and it's going to be closely watched, a lot of national attention as well. Chairman Hager, what's the case to be made for Senator Ayotte?
So Senator Ayotte is a middle-of-the-road, pragmatic person, and she'll get the job done. We'll take the comparison with Joyce Craig and have a good-natured, debate on that. But we'll be looking at Manchester and the history of Manchester. Great city, but we think she underperformed there, and we're going to highlight that. And we're going to highlight Kelly's background, experience, and her ability to bring people together. She's going to run essentially as a Sununu type of Republican that has done very well in the past. So we're very hopeful that she'll do very well.
We'll let you get into a back and forth on that, but what's the case to be made, Mr. Chairman, for Joyce Craig?
I think that her record as mayor actually, despite what you might see on TV, is actually, people in Manchester are quite proud of the work that she did. You saw that with the results in the primary, and you're going to see that in the general election. We can't understand why the Republicans think that insulting 12% of the state on an hourly basis is somehow a good strategy. But look, I've seen her on the school board. I've seen Joyce Craig as an alderman. I've seen her as our mayor. She's tough, she's strong, and she actually is like John Lynch and Maggie Hassan and Jean Shaheen. She will be a governor in that model. There's no way, nobody realistically, I'm sorry, suggests that Kelly Ayotte is anything other than a extreme Republican, especially when it comes to abortion. She's no more like Chris Sununu than anyone is on the street.
This fight over the Queen City, though, Chairman Buckley, you had a candidate running for mayor of Manchester who said, I'll do exactly what Joyce Craig did, and he lost.
Obviously, that campaign was unfortunate. Came within a couple hundred votes. It was a very close election. I think that if we were able to do it again, it would be a different campaign. He never once talked about Jay Rouet. Never talked about his record, Jay Rouet's record, and our opponent next year will have a lot to say about Jay Rouet.
Chairman Hager, do you run the risk of alienating? Obviously, Joyce Craig will have a Manchester base of support, but is there a risk of alienating the Queen City based on the attack?
I don't think so, because what the city decided between Joyce Craig's hand-picked successor and someone else. They picked someone else, and Jay is running the city well in really a nonpartisan fashion, just looking out for the people of Manchester. And Kelly Ayotte will do the same thing in the state. She'll be looking out for the good of the people. She's not going to be an ideologue on abortion. The big lie the Democrats tell is we're going to ban abortion. We have up to 24 weeks. No reason any woman can get an abortion.
Why did your House members introduce a 6-week ban?
Because there are people in your party who've introduced ridiculous things. Some people in our party, and the way our legislature is, any member can introduce any legislation. And so when 11 people out of 400 vote for something, that does not represent the Republican Party. That represents a few people. And by the way, 5 Democrats voted for that, for the 15-day ban. So let's kind of be clear on this. Kelly Ayotte has agreed The Senate and the House Republicans have agreed they will not change the 24-week ban. The Democrats want to have abortion, healthy mother, healthy baby, up to the moment of birth. That's extreme.
We'll give you a little time to respond there and then move on, Chairman.
You know that that's a lie.
No, it's not.
It is.
It is absolutely not a lie.
There is no place up to the moment of birth. It doesn't even make sense if you really even listen to the words. But the reality is, while Kelly Ayotte, the one term she did serve in the U.S. Senate, she voted against funding Planned Parenthood. She voted against a total ban of abortion, actually cheered the Roe decision, and as she calls it, she was the Sherpa for Gorsuch, which was the swing vote that banned abortion nationally. What she's not saying is that what she's going to do if there is something hit her desk that actually would say that abortion actually is legal in New Hampshire. And we have a real difficulty. I think the people will know the difference between Joyce Craig and Kelly Ayotte.
There's a lot to explore there, and we want to get to a couple other races too. The 2nd Congressional District, I find this to be a fascinating race. Lily Tong Williams, Maggie Goodlander, Chairman Eger. She's not a conventional candidate, but she's got a compelling story, and it seems like she's won a ton of people over in your party.
So I think if you looked at Lily Tang Williams in isolation, just met her for a few minutes and said, can this person be your nominee? You might say, well, maybe her background and experience, maybe not. But she's a ferocious campaigner, and she tells a very compelling story. She is a wild card. She's different. She's not a Washington insider. She doesn't have a lot of money. She doesn't have Washington money. She doesn't have friends in the White House. She resonates with a lot of people. And we'll see if that's enough to overcome the advantages that Democrats have demographically in 2nd District and the money advantage that Goodlander has. And so, she has advantages institutionally on the Democrat side, clearly. Lily Tang Williams has a personal story. Will it resonate with enough people to win? We'll see.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see if she's able to get more votes in New Hampshire's 2nd District than she got when she ran for Congress as a Libertarian in Colorado in 2016. She's been shopping around trying to find a state to get elected in, and frankly, it's not the 2nd Congressional District of New Hampshire.
Well, we're living in a new political reality for sure, I think, that neither one of these candidates was really a part of the state's political fabric over the last decade until recently. Now, Goodlander's been in and out, of course. But
I can't imagine Republicans putting up with attacking the Tamposi family. I mean, the Tamposi family with the foundations.
We're in the Wayback Machine now. So what about the 2nd District? This is fascinating to me. 5 of the last 6 nominees for the Republicans, people of color. Chairman Buckley, the Democrats are big on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. You got to say the Republicans here are doing a great job of advancing people of color in that district.
Well, ours is not just rhetoric or putting people to run in races that they can't win. The first African-American state senator was Melanie LeVake. She's now our nominee for the Executive Council. She'll be the first African-American member of the Executive Council. We have Tin Ming, who is running for state senate out of the be first Asian American in the state senate. Carlos Cardona will be the first Latino in the state senate. So we're actually talking about electing them, not just utilizing them to fill the ballot.
Yeah, so we had, I think, 13 people run competitively in CD2, and we don't pick our candidates from Washington. The people in the district do. Lily was able to appeal to people, and the number 2 vote getter, Vikram Mancharamani, Indian American. We don't recruit these people because of what they look like. They run because they want to serve, and we look at people not based on their color. It just so happened people of color got nominated. That's great. We're looking for competency, and we love a meritocracy. And so, hey, let's get it on. Whoever's the best candidate, let's let them run and win. 1st Congressional District, Chris Pappas and Russell Prescott. These are 2 guys who love to be businesslike. It's going to be a very corporate kind of feel. I feel like there's 2 executive counselors. Chairman Buckley, obviously, Chris Pappas is a rising star in your party and has been for some time. How do you think he stands in this race?
Every race in New Hampshire is always likely to be close, and so he's going to campaign like he's 10 points behind. But there's absolutely no rational argument to send Russ Prescott to Congress.
And Chairman Eger, as we wrap up here, just the case to be made for
Russell Prescott. Russ Prescott has been a volunteer legislator in New Hampshire. He's been state senate, executive council, owns a business. His family goes back to the Revolutionary War. He's the perfect type of person that a New Hampshire citizen legislature, that you'd want to promote up. He's not a Washington insider. He doesn't get a lot of money from a lot of the big corporate interests. And so I think Russell Prescott's going to do very well.
All right, Chairman, we'll be checking in with you, of course, as the weeks
No
go on.
Donald Trump?
Well, we're going to talk to Scott Spradling about that in the C Block, so stick around, viewers.
I don't know if anyone told
we didn't make it.
But we invited Donald Trump to come and campaign for your ticket.
There you go. You know what? You guys talk so much about the governor's race, so that's what people are going to be talking about.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll be right back with first interviews with the newly minted nominees for governor, Joyce Craig and Kelly Ayotte. Stay with us.